crossover back at it yet again. The Bucks are losers tonight, 112-97 to the Orlando Magic. We are live doing our thing on the CCC. Come on in the room, throw your C's up, all of that. It's the guru, Trey Crosby III.
Chris King.
John Tyus.
There we go. Three Musketeers in the building. Let's go. A 112-97 loss tonight to the Orlando Magic. Bucks didn't look good. Just issues all over. Had a lot of problems. Just couldn't seem to figure this one out tonight. They just couldn't do it. They didn't have it. They just weren't good. I don't know how to explain it. They weren't good. They didn't have enough defense. Didn't have enough offense. No Dame Lillard tonight again. A late scratch. Just now the Bucks lose 2 in a row. Go through some stats here. 35, 10, and 7 with 4 steals for Giannis. He was 15 and 22, 68% from the field. I'm just reading the stat line. My goodness. He was 5 of 12 from the free throw line, which was bad. But again, goes to my point. I was saying it on Twitter the other night where, like, if Giannis hits free throws, like, he's put up 40 easy. He would average 40 points a game. So again, 35, 10, and 7. What's that meme with Jamie Foxx and Denzel Washington? I'm leaving here with something. I'm leaving here with something. I might lose 112-97, but I'm leaving here with something. 10.7 assists from Chris Middleton in 19 minutes. That's something we're gonna have to keep talking about with the minutes restriction for Chris Middleton. Malik Beasley, your boy JT. You know how many points he had, John?
He stunk up the joint. I get it. Look,
he scored like me. I was out there with him. No points tonight. The donut, goose egg, all of that. Brook Lopez, 21 minutes tonight, 9 points, 3 boards. Cam Payne had a great start. He finished with 14. Bobby with 13 and 7 off of the bench. And then you're looking at Orlando, 20 points for Jalen Suggs in 38 minutes, 26 for Banchero, and 24 for Franz Wagner, and then 19 from his brother, Mo Wagner. So, again, lots to get to, lot to talk about tonight. If you're just joining the Cream City crossover, you can act no comments in the chat, but Elon Musk just don't let it. He's stingy with the money. But if you want to leave me a comment, you can do it on the YouTube or at TCIIIESQ. We will read those on air. And we can start taking some initial thoughts, John Tyus, on what you saw, a 112-97 loss to Orlando Magic. The Bucks lose 2 in a row. How are you feeling, and what did you see tonight?
Guys, I got to tell you, I'm trying to be as optimistic as possible on Griffin as much as I can, right? But some of this stuff starting to become a trend, right? Again, another poor free throw shooting night for the Bucks. I think they were 12 or 25 from the free throw line. Not great. I think that it was right around 40% or 41%, whereas conversely, Orlando 85%. This is another night where it didn't really seem like the Bucks came out. They just did not look prepared. It was a slow start for this team. I will say it was a bright spot in seeing Cam Payne show up like that in the first half. I believe Cam Payne had 14 points. It was like 6 of 8 shooting. But then he didn't take any shots after that in the second half. I don't know. Not really sure what happened there. Giannis obviously came out swinging 17 in the first half. Thought that was remarkable, and you knew he was going to have a big night. But again, at the end of the day, the other guys around him just were not stepping up. One thing I want to point out, though, because we talk about this night in and night out. Free throws. The Bucks just have way too many nights shooting free throws at a percentage of less than 50. And again, it's Giannis, like you said as well, right? Giannis missed a lot of those free throws in the first half. But I want to point this out, and I don't know if you guys noticed this watching the game, but I have done some dug a little deep in here. We can't rebound. We are just not good on the boards. We absolutely stink. You guys realize we had 1 offensive rebound in that first half? 1. Conversely, the Magic had not, right? But look at it at overall. Right now, right? And going into this game, we were 26th in defensive rebounds per game at 31.9. We were 28th in offensive rebounds per game at 8.1. And then overall, total rebounds a game, we're at 40, we are 29th. I mean, good. It's off, right? Conversely, you put that in there, and then you talk about us defensively. Defensively, right? We were 25th in defensive rating, and I think the only teams we're in front of are Indiana, Washington, Utah, and the Hornets and the Spurs, right? Which you could argue that none of those other teams are really looking at a playoff run, and if they are, they're not getting out the first round. So there are some concerns here, like as far as how we look as a championship team, championship caliber team. Let's put it like that. And this is just a bad night for Bucks fans, and I hope we can put this behind us.
I think these past couple of games, you've kind of been able to see, really, if we have the depth that we talk about, and ultimately, it didn't look like it tonight at all. I think a lot of guys missed open shots. I think that was a big problem. And then also, Jay Crowder only shot one time, and it was a bad air ball. Like, where does that come from? Is that because Dame is out? Is that because we have nobody to create open looks for him? So that was an interesting thing as well. And then, guys, like we talked about wanting to see the young Bucks. Well, they didn't really compete as much as I would have liked them to against this Magic team. So obviously it's good to get them some reps out there, and we'll talk about that later. But at the end of the day, they were having trouble staying in front of their men. They were missing shots as well. But I did like the play from Andre Jackson Jr.
Yeah, and I thought in the second half the young guys played really well. Like I said, we'll get to that in a second. Listen, listen, John, you mentioned championship caliber, and all I'm doing, I got a calendar. What's today's date? What's today's date?
11/11, sir.
So it's November the 11th. They don't look championship caliber on November 11th. Well, you know what? That's good because it ain't championship time. So I'm okay. The Bucks don't look championship caliber. Damian Lillard's not playing. To me, and again, I know you guys had reasonable takes. I'm really not talking about you, but I'm talking about to a lot of people out there who are, Adrian Griffin's not the right guy. Oh, they're falling apart. Dog, they're 5-4. Like, calm down, relax. They lost the last 2 games. Damian Lillard didn't play. Well, we don't need Damian Lillard to play Magic. I'm like, are you guys like, dude? Like, calm down. These ain't your older brother's Magic. Like, these Magic are good this year. I'm telling you, they're not a bad basketball team. Like, it's not a bad basketball team. They've been building. They have been bad over the last few years. They are 5-4 as well, I believe. So they've been beating some teams. They're not a bad basketball team. Paolo Banchero is good. Jalen Suggs has turned the corner. Both of the Wagner brothers are good basketball players. Like I think we shouldn't need Damian Lillard. Again, the difference in this basketball team is they are very top heavy. They took a step back defensively. We know that, but they are top heavy. So when you don't have Chris Middleton, who plays 20 minutes and he has 7 assists, but he put up 10 points. He looks the shell of himself. I talked about this but way long ago that Chris Middleton wasn't going to be right for a while. But when you don't have Damian Lillard, that's a problem. That's a problem. And again, dare I say, you add Damian Lillard. How much did they lose by, John?
15. This is the third loss. The third loss in 9 games, and this Bucks team has lost by 15 or more. So
they lost by 15. Well, guess what? I'm gonna throw 25 Dame Lillard points on there. What that mean? Bucks win by 10. That's what I would do. So I'm looking at it on a different level. Like, yeah, you can't. Well, our guys were not there. Chris Middleton is not healthy. So you're playing with guys. You're playing with Malik Beasley out there who gives you nothing. Your second best offensive player tonight was Cam Payne, who scored basically all of his points in the first half. Maybe in the first quarter, I think he started off like 5 for 5 from the field. He hit a couple threes. Like that's what you're dealing with. And then Giannis is still giving you 35. People keep saying like Giannis fell off. Well, he put 54 and 35 in consecutive games. He's fine. Everything's what I would say. Could they play better defense? Absolutely. But when you saw the young guys come in, Chris, to your point, the rebounds, and John, you talk about the rebounds. The rebounds were there. There's no effort to go get them on the board. There's no effort. And that's when, and again, I saw Thanasis come in. I saw Andre Jackson Jr. come in. Those guys gave the effort. And you get down to it, I thought the defense, again, I'll take some positives. I saw the defense look a little bit better in the second half. I thought that, again, if Damian Lillard's in that game, if Damian Lillard just plays the second half, I think the Bucks win that basketball game. Because they made runs, they got themselves within, I think, 10 or 11. The issue was the lineup that did it was Giannis, Thanasis, Andre Jackson Jr., I think Chris, Livingston was in there. Like, that's what I'm saying. Like, yeah, like that's tough to try to come back and win that. Let me go to a chat real quick. At Olsen Jolson says, I will not name the refs because it seems like they're out here trying to get mentions online with their shenanigans. Also, with Dame and or Giannis resting and how slow Chris's minutes are ramping up, it could take a large portion of the season for this team to get a rhythm. I agree with that. At JD Morris _6 says Giannis field goals made have been looking next level over the past 2 games. Do you think he's being used differently so far? So I'm gonna come back to that, but I do want to look at this one. At RI_Prince1 says not currently taking the season seriously until game 15-20 afterwards. Similar to the Pacers game, slow starts really messes up. Ajax might be more important than we thought. Team clearly lacks effort, shown immediately when Thanasis Green and Ajax something. Yeah, AJ Green was good. I want to go back to Jonathan Morris's question here, where he says, Giannis' field goals may have been looking next level over the last 2 games. Do you think he's being used differently so far? If you remember the first few games, it's like, what's going on with Giannis? Is it maybe the issues with Dame? Maybe they're not. And it looked like his efficiency wasn't there. But over the last 2 nights against Indiana and Orlando, he's really taken him to the woodshed and gotten him some. What do you think is the root cause of that, of Giannis's play so far in the last couple of games offensively?
Well, look, I think Giannis is coming. I think after that ejection, he's got something to prove. Giannis coming out swinging, right? One thing I'll talk about tonight that I will talk about, and this should make Bucks fans happy, or at least most of us, even though there's a few of us in the minority that want to see him shoot more. But he only shot 1 3 tonight, right? So there's a big difference there, right? Giannis ain't this pound on the perimeter. He's banging boys down low, banging bodies around down low. I knew y'all don't do that. I knew y'all don't
Yo,
he was banging bodies around down low, and I thought that Giannis these last games literally looks like a guy that's disrespected, has a chip on his shoulder, and he playing like the rent is due, like 100%. So I got to give him that. Interesting thing about tonight, you realize as well, although the Bucks lost by 15 tonight, points in the paint, Bucks had 50, Magic had 40. So that's a little interesting there, kind of supporting that as well as far as the impact of Giannis. But, again, I think the thing about Giannis, and we talk about this all the time, free throws, man. Free throws. You have got to be able to make free throws at a much higher rate than this, because it's just far too frequent where Giannis is making less than half of his free throws.
I think this is a situation where, obviously Dame and Giannis haven't necessarily figured each other out when they're on the floor. So I think Giannis gets out there when Dame's not there, and he kind of has a sense of relief. Like there's no pressure on him to get Dame the ball yet, and they'll obviously figure that out. But I think that when Dame is out, it's kind of a situation where, especially against the team like a Magic or like Indiana Pacers, I think Giannis gets a little more confident, which I don't know if that should be the case, but I think that is what it is. Just a little more aggressiveness from Giannis, recognizing that he doesn't have his second option and going out there and trying to win the game and pretty much by himself.
Yeah, and I think, yes, I agree with all that. I think, Giannis feels comfortable out there to be able to score and do his thing and just play aggressive and play free and loose. And again, yeah, I thought that he looked like that over the last couple of nights. And yeah, I think you're right, JT. Maybe some of the ejection has something to do with it. I want to get to the concerns with this basketball team, because you're looking at the defensive effort and the level that you're seeing from a defense that, again, they play much better in the second half. I give them that. But again, too many straight line drives. I thought the officiating was whack. I believe Orlando took 21 free throws in the first half, which I for life, I don't understand how. I think that for whatever reason, on the Bucks whistle is not as good as other teams. I think Giannis gets hacked often, all the time, and they just don't call it. And then there was one at the end where they called it a charging, which I thought was crazy. He on a fast break, a dude stops right in front of him, and you're not entitled to. Giannis isn't entitled to finish the space of the layup. I didn't get that one at all. That was an offensive play, but again, on the defensive side, it just seems like there are a lot of fouls to go uncalled on Giannis, or on Giannis, that get called on the other end that are touch fouls. I don't too much understand that. But again, defensively, Malik Beasley just not. Whether it doesn't seem as much rotation wise anymore. It almost just seems like guys just getting beat, straight line drives to the basket. Guys are getting there, and again, it creates these slow starts. You're just not getting the buckets that you need. You need guys like Dame Lillard. You need all these guys available, and when you don't have them, again, you can't have all of your problems happen at once. Giannis and Dame will cover up a lot of the stink, but when it's just Giannis, and again, when you're top heavy, it becomes rough. It becomes rough. So I guess my question: how concerned are you? Because again, you got people online on social media who are like talking about Adrian Griffin's the worst thing to happen. They should have hired Nick Nurse. All this, all that. How concerned are you right now with the Milwaukee Bucks when they start with the 5-4 start?
I'm not overly concerned at all, again, because we have calendars in front of us and it is 11-11, right? So at the end of the day, now having said that, though, you do have 9 games in, so you have a very small sample size, but you have enough games to start being able to identify trends, right? Like if we say, hey, the Bucks are always starting slow, well, I think you got 9, you have a big enough sample size to say, yeah, that is a trend this season, right? That's not just 1 or 2. Having said that, there's plenty of time for this stuff to change. There really is. And I think this Bucks team, we knew they weren't going to get their footing because I think you talked about it earlier. Chris Middleton still on the minutes restriction. Dame and Giannis still not on the same page. That coming together late. You lost Terry Stotts at the beginning of the season. There's a lot that I think has happened to this Bucks team within the last month. There's no question about that. So you certainly have to acknowledge that too. I think at this point, though, like you said, and you guys have talked about this before, Adrian Griffin's still figuring out lineups and still figuring out some schematically what it is you want to do. Having said that, I think you do have a lot of tools to be able to do different things, right? Because you think about it tonight. We talk about Livingston and Andre Jackson Jr. Andre Jackson Jr. was balling tonight. Now, it wasn't necessarily offensively, but every loose ball, he was out there, key turnovers, scored a couple points. He was out there scrapping, right? And I think this was Livingston's second time playing all year.
Yeah, I think it was. And again, Andre Jackson Jr. did a great job. I thought he was aggressive and just made a lot of impact. We talked about Adrian Griffin. I want to get back to the comment from the YouTube in a second. Bucks and 4 said Thanasis is getting 10 minutes. What the hell? I thought the Thanasis minutes. I thought it was a spark. Again, the Bucks lose 112-97, but the Bucks got it within 10. They were down like 20 or whatever it was. The Thanasis minutes were a spark. He actually played some good defense. Got a stop. He whipped the pass around to AJ Green, who hit a big 3. I think maybe they cut it to 13 at one point. It was just that they didn't have enough. And again, if you have a guy like Dan, you can get, because when you're down 15, 20 points, you not only have to get stops, but you got to score on 2 and 3 and 4 possessions. You got to play almost perfect basketball down 16 with 7 minutes to go. And again, we've seen the Bucks be able to kind of navigate some of those waters where they get stops in bunches and scores in bunches down the stretch. And when you don't have that, and when also, again, you're looking, because again, that lineup, it was adding Chris Middleton and taking him out at certain points. And it's like, well, you're watching Chris because he can't get over 20 minutes. And like, that's a thing too. So you can't even really have a continuity with, okay, well, even if we're going to play Andre Jackson Jr. and Livingston and Thanasis, well, you can't even add Chris Middleton with it at all times because you're watching his minutes. So you don't even have that other score, like shooting threat around Giannis to really play with. So I think offensively is where the firepower was lost late in the game. If you want to go there, Sanju Tay says, "Where's Giannis's help?" Well, again, Giannis's help, and we'll talk about this in a second. 20 minutes for Chris Middleton and no Damian Lillard. You can't make the club in the tub. So I mean, that's, you talk about where's his help. They're out. Giannis is playing. Those guys are not able to help right now. And then Monique Crosby coming in says, okay, I don't know who wrote this for. She says, JT, do you guys have any concerns about the coach? Sometimes I get the deer in the headlines look from Adrian Griffin. Would you turn over the keys to a Rolls Royce to a novice driver? Okay, Mom.
You know what? Hey, now she is. Look, she's right. There's the logic in this,
valid
in and out of itself was valid, right? Because we went with an unproven commodity, right? We went with a coach who, like you guys said, he had interviewed 14, 15 different teams and had been passed over. He'd been considered. He was well respected in the league, but again, he had zero experience with coaching this Bucks team. I do think that's a heck of a risk, right? Just to step into a head coaching position on a team that is virtually a championship contender, and expect this head coach to come in without any hiccups and for things to go smoothly, because some of these issues are experience issues alone. Additionally, you did pass up some championship winning coaches to hire him, right? When you look at Nick Nurse and even Frank Vogel as well, which, boy, Frank, it might be a long fall for him out in Phoenix. But I wholeheartedly agree with you. It was a risk. I think it was, you hired who Giannis wanted, because I think you had to do what you had to do to keep the best player in the NBA happy in your city. Having said that, yeah, we're 100% seeing the inexperience at this point.
These are some wild comments that are coming into the Twitter right now. At Dr. Drew Holiday Hater Burner says, Send Brooke to the West Bank. This is insane stuff right now.
Wow.
Bob Goldman says losing big to middle tier teams is a warning sign. Don't see any sign that this defense fits the roster. It's early, but Coach Griffin has a lot to figure out. Bucks need to be at least mediocre on defense. Offense will take care of itself with the healthy Dame. I agree with that. And again, we talk about the clutch numbers. The Bucks in the clutch have been, again, until I haven't seen the numbers past Indy, but we're a top 10 defense in the clutch. So you've got to be able to get there. That's what you've got to be able to do. You got to be able to get to those moments. And then at that point, when you get there, I'm going to trust a healthy Dame, a healthy Chris Middleton, and a healthy Giannis to finish out the rest of the way. That's what I'm looking for. Numb Wisconsin sports fan says horrible defense. And then I can't remember who said, I can't find it now, but somebody asked if we would ever, if Chris Middleton, if we'd ever see, like, not a healthy Chris Middleton, but if we'd ever see a Chris Middleton that can get back to form. So let's just go to the next topic there and talk about the health concerns from the guys. And let's start before we get to Dame, because again, his calf issue, 2 games out. I may probably being cautious with him because he's gone through pregame warmups. The last 2 games just didn't play. Questions about Chris Middleton, and we talk about the ramp up. But do you have concerns right now with Chris Middleton? His ramp up still has not. I think he cracked maybe a little over 20 minutes a couple times so far. But we're at game 9 now. Chris has played, I believe, he didn't play 2 back. How many games Chris played? 6 now. He's around 6. He's around 6 games, and he's still at around that 20-minute mark of minutes played. What do you see from him, and what's going on?
Well, they said it was going to be slow, and
it is.
There's a couple ways we can look at it, right? One way we can look at it is at least he's playing more minutes now than he was last week. He's playing up around 20 minutes, and before he was in like that 15 to 17 minute range, right? So it's not a whole lot, but he is playing a little bit more. Having said that, I agree with you. He looks like a shell of himself. He just does not look like the all-star small forward that we've become accustomed to seeing. And Dame's got a calf injury, which is a little troubling, but I mean, not overly, right? Maybe they're just being overly precautious. But here's my thing. Here's my concern. You're only 9 games in the season. You're not tired yet. You don't have those injuries that you start getting when the body is tired and the body is worn down. When you get 40 games into the season and you got that nagging hamstring, that nagging calf, that groin injury, and it becomes like, okay, we have to manage this effectively because we can't make this thing better. So I am a little bit worried right now that we are still seeing, I'm trusting the process that Chris is still ramping up and there's not an actual problem or his body is having some issues behind the scenes that we don't know about. And I'm trusting that this is a precautionary tale for Dame. But guys, I don't like the fact that we're dealing with injuries already and we're only 9 games in.
Yeah, I'm certainly concerned about Chris Middleton. Like you said, JT, I don't know if he'll ever get back to that 40 points in the finals, 40 points in the Eastern Conference Finals. I don't know if he'll ever get back to that. He certainly doesn't look like it in the minutes that he's providing. And then another thing is, like, when Chris is out there, his shot it's not going well for him. Like, I mean, yeah, he shot, 50% tonight, but like some of his misses have been just very out of character for him, and that's really a concern. And as he starts to age, as this whole thing starts to progress, like how much longer do we have of this? Just his minutes are ramping up, and then all of a sudden he's missing games again, and then this and that, and then he's in the playoffs not playing well, and then that's just it. Like, how much longer are we going to take of that for us to really make a decision on whether Chris is good for this Bucks team in the future?
Those are all valid points. The Magic of 112-97 winners over the Milwaukee Bucks. Keeping it with the comment section. The Bald Eagle says, we do keep saying healthy Chris Middleton. I agree this may never happen. Questionable investment. He also says, what is Chris's earnings per minute? Mario Lunar says Middleton needs to not be on a minutes restriction. He needs a full workload. Once we get both of those guys back to full workload, we'll start cooking. Defensively, we definitely was better in the second half. There is a little bit of a question, and I kind of pose this both of you too, is, I'm looking at Chris Middleton and the minutes restriction and what he looks like. To me, it just looks like he doesn't have his legs under him. And we talk about a shot, maybe that's a little bit of all of it. I think against Indiana, he kept falling over himself and just like a baby giraffe. Like he just can't really keep his legs good. You know, I don't know. I do think here's my thing on it. I'm not a fan of the slow ramp up. We've had this conversation before. I would much rather see I'd rather shut him down until he's ready to come and give me a real ramp up. So I'd rather, hey, don't play, practice, workout, and when you're ready to give, you know, when you're almost there, we put you on 25 minutes for like 2 or 3 games. And then let's get the workload going where you're at 30 minutes after 2 games. And then it's time to get you full go. Because if you're not ready, playing, it just doesn't do anything. I think it hurts the flow of the offense. I think it hurt. And if you're only going to play 20 minutes, I might as well bring him off the bench. Like, why are we starting him? I'd rather bring him off the bench and let him kind of get his way into the offense and into the flow. I just don't like it. I think, again, this injury issue is going to persist for him throughout a long portion of the season. What can't happen is what we saw in Brooklyn with Kyrie and KD, where guys aren't playing together. Like I'm telling you, you already see some of the, and maybe that's quote, maybe that's good that that they're 5-4 and that there are some issues defensively and the offense looks stagnant and guys don't know their roles or what they're doing because, you know, as I look at this basketball team, you need those guys, Chris, Dame, and Giannis, and really in particular Dame and Giannis. They got to play 55, 60 games together at minimum to be ready for the play. You're not going to play 25 and 30 games. And I really want, I low-key add Chris into that as well. You're not going to play 30 games together, 25 games as a unit and think you're going to be ready come May. You're not. Now that I will definitively say that yes, and again, that's my biggest, when we talk about concerns, that's my biggest concern is that those 3 will not play fully healthy for 40 or 50 games. And if you're not, I'm telling 50 is really that benchmark. If you can't get 50 games from all 3 of those guys fully healthy, I could see you having some issues coming up in the playoffs when it's time to do that because it's too hard to replicate. It's just too hard to replicate.
That's true. That's 100% true. And the question that I do have about Chris, though, and I don't know if you guys know this too, I've tried to stay away from the blogs and the online rabbit hole for what exactly is going on with Chris. But I guess my thing is, do you guys think that Chris will eventually be able to play 25, 27, 30 minutes consistently? Or do you think that there just becomes a risk of Chris aggravating this knee injury and having to be out for a while? Like I don't know. I don't know where we're at with this thing. I see the slow ramp up, I do, but maybe we're in a situation where Chris just does not play. You just don't see him play 30 minutes. You don't see him play 27 minutes. You see the risk is too high because the team knows something we don't about that knee, right? Is there a degenerative condition? Is there arthritis? I don't really know, but I do think that it's possible. It's possible that if Chris does play 30 minutes, 35 minutes, gets up that high in minutes, then maybe he has to miss extended time for the next few games after that.
Well, he did in the playoffs against Miami, right? Like we saw him kind of miss time in and out of the lineup all year last year, and then in the playoffs he was ready to go. I thought he played well, to be honest, in the playoffs. And so I don't know. He says he feels fine. The claim is, of course, that this is all precautionary, but he does not look like a guy that's 100. He looks like he moves a little laterally. Looks like he's missing something going side to side a little bit. But I mean, I think he plays. I mean, he had 10.7 assists. If you're telling me, even at maybe let's say he's diminished a little bit, right? The defense is not as good, and maybe he can't move laterally as well. I think he still is I think he still is a decent third option. But I need you to give me 17, 18 points. If you give me 17, 18 points, and like I said, you get 7 assists tonight in 20 minutes. You can give me 17, 18 points and 7, 8, 9 assists in 30, 35, and 30, 32, 33 minutes when you're doing that. And then I got Dame giving me 30, and I got Giannis giving me 30. Now you're cooking. Again, people talk about defense. This is going to be an offensive team that's going to have to be able to get stops when they need them. And that's what I think this team can do because at the end of the day, you still have Giannis. You have, again, I think Dame, I think he's an opportunistic player. I think he gives effort. You have guys that are giving the effort. You have guys like Andre Jackson Jr. you can put in and plug in to play. You have Brook Lopez at the rim who can block shots late in basketball games. You have guys that can, again, when they need a stop, I think you have the guys that can get that done. I don't think they're just totally inept at playing defense. But you've got, like we talked about it, you got to get to that point again. And without Dame, without Chris, it's hard to just get there because you start off down 20-25. So that's where I am with it.
I agree.
Yeah, the Bald Eagle says, Trey, remember by midseason, the poll you had previously put out there, Drew or Chris for the trade earlier. I was always about moving on from Chris. And then at Light Seraph, Marvin Lee says, time to shake up the starters and the rotation. After this game, maybe Andre Jackson Jr. should be the fifth. Play the players who will fight. Maybe time to trade Middleton. He's a crutch due to his health and inconsistent play. Can't overload Giannis again during the regular season when Dame is out. And see, like, I think that's what I get to. I think it's too early for that kind of stuff. It's too early for that, for the trade Chris Middleton. It's way too early. At Saint of Freak says, lack of rebounding has been killer, especially when Giannis is tasked with more perimeter defense. Also, Brook has looked awful on defense, playing drop or not. I think that's a true statement. Brook Lopez just has not looked like I think he should, and like you'd want him to see. That's what you want to see from Brook Lopez, playing in the drop. I think he's had a couple decent games. Yeah, but it's just interesting seeing how the minutes shake out with this guy. And again, 20 minutes tonight, and then the shots not falling. How many threes the Bucks hit tonight? And that's the I'm looking at the Orlando got to the free throw line, hit a bunch of free throws. They only hit 10 threes. Orlando. The Bucks were 9 for 29 from three, and so again, some of the stuff you just look at it and it gets hard. It gets so hard. Bald Eagle says less time with Giannis at the point, and do any of them box out? No, until your boy Ajax gets in there and starts fighting for rebounds and fighting for loose balls. And Thanasis is fighting for rebounds, fighting for loose balls. Again, I saw some effort in the second half. I'll give him that. I really did see some effort.
Yeah, you saw some effort because guys in the second half were coming in. Again, Andre Jackson Jr. was only playing, 5 minutes a night, 4 minutes a night for the last few games. You saw him get extended time, and he was literally in there fighting like he's fighting for a roster spot. And I love to see it. Obviously, Thanasis comes in and brings the energy. I love to see it. But one thing I will say, one knock on Adrian Griffin is, hey, man, this team always has slow starts. And, yes, they play a little bit better in the second half. But for a team to have slow starts like this, at some point that becomes an indictment on his ability to get them prepared and ready to go.
Is it an indictment on him, or are those guys not? It's hard to coach effort. I think that's such a hard thing to say. I shouldn't have to, as a head coach your effort. That's something you got to come and bring it every night. I don't understand. I hate that whole notion that like guys are motivators, and I understand it, but I shouldn't have to coach your effort. You should show up to the arena. You know what should coach your effort, JT? When you look at that direct deposit hit and say, damn, I need to do this again. I need to do more of this because more of this means more of that. That's what should I shouldn't have to hear a win one for the Gipper speech to know I gotta run. I just shouldn't need a guy I gotta run through a wall for. I shouldn't need that. I should be able to know my assignments, get to it, and want to play because I want to win basketball games. Why somebody got to coach my effort? Why do I have to come out flat first half, second half? First bucket of the second half was I believe a layup for Orlando. How does that happen? Adrian Griffin shouldn't have to say nothing. You're down 15 coming into the second half. That should motivate you.
I understand that, right? But this is where we disagree from an organizational leadership philosophy, because I would argue, see, that's the easy thing to do. The little things are the easy things for you to coach. Effort, accountability, responsibility, all of that stuff. That you can control. I can't control if this shot goes in or not, right? I can't control, but I can definitely control the other little things around that. And I would say, yeah, at some point that has to be on Adrian Griffin, because if your team's showing up and routinely looking like they don't want to play or they looking like, okay, we're not awake yet, right? Well, you know what? Fine, I'm gonna take you off the court. We're gonna roll out there with the young boys and everything else in this first quarter. If y'all gonna get out there and stink it up and look like a bunch of Clydesdales that don't really want to be here. And again, I agree with you. The direct deposit should be hitting. That should be something that motivates these guys. But clearly they know that direct deposit's coming regardless, and they out there lollygagging around in that first and second quarter.
Well, let's stay with the young Bucks, because you spoke about the effort and the guys that gave it. Works. So maybe he's getting through to Andre Jackson Jr. He's not getting through to Bobby Portis and Brook Lopez because they're not giving the effort. Because Andre Jackson Jr. I thought came in and gave a lot of motor, high effort. Marjan I thought gave effort as well. Let's see what did he finish with tonight? 5 points, 4 boards. Again, he's 2 for 7, but I thought he played with a lot of high intensity, a lot of effort in 19 minutes. Pat Connaughton, 3 points, 3 boards. But yeah, it was 14 minutes for Andre Jackson Jr., 4 points, 2 for 3 from the field. And even AJ Green, he was 1 for 3, but AJ Green, I love the effort. And that's what I want to, you have to have that. And I think I had a tweet, I think I said earlier, it was like, there are rebounds there to be had, but you got to go get them. You got to want them. And again, maybe you need to start. But that's why I ask you this. Because the listener said it, do you start Andre Jackson Jr.? But it's like, I don't think he's truly a starter, though. So am I doing that to send a message? And then 9 games in, does it look good that I don't think it looks good that I'm making some drastic change 9 games in anyway. I wouldn't do that. I still think Malik Beasley, I do think you should probably shift him out of the starting lineup for, a Jay Crowder. And again, he left the game with a growing injury tonight. So I don't know how long he's going to be out. And maybe that will propel some minutes from Andre Jackson Jr. and Marjon Beauchamp. But yeah, I probably wouldn't. The only move I can see making right now is Malik Beasley out of the starting lineup. But I don't think I would go down to Andre Jackson Jr. to get that start. I'd probably be Marjon or Jay Crowder. But do you think that they need some type of shakeup and to play? I agree with playing the young guys more because they are giving the effort, and I want to show, hey, the guys are out there doing it. And again, and it looks like the team kind of transforms when you see that because everybody feeds off of that kind of stuff. They really do. I think you see it. But when Dame comes back, do you make a change to Malik Beasley? So I guess that's the question. Do you make the change to Malik Beasley out of the lineup now, 9 games into the season? Is it time?
I think you experiment with it. You 100% experiment with it because Jay Crowder, before tonight has definitely shown that he's deserving of a starting position. So yeah, I think you 100% could take Beasley out the lineup, slide Crowder in there. But additionally, right, again, we talked about this before. You can take some of Pat's minutes and disseminate those minutes amongst some of the young athletes, some of the young boys on this team too. I mean, I still don't understand why we're playing Pat Connaughton at this point. What did he play tonight? 16, yeah. So 16 minutes tonight. Yeah, we can cut some of those minutes and divide those up to some of these young guys to get them on the court too. Because I do think that at some point you may need Andre Jackson Jr. You really do. I don't know about Livingston. I can't really speak on that because I've only seen him twice this year. But at some point, you might need Andre Jackson Jr. to come out and make plays for you.
I think it's the right move to experiment with taking Beasley out of the starting lineup, and that's because Jay has just been better on both sides of the ball. I think you kind of experiment with that, but in terms of young Bucks and trying to get them involved and get some, I would like to see that there can be a good scoring option out of that group. I don't really see that yet out of the young Bucks. So I need somebody to show that they can at least put the ball in the bucket consistently for them to actually get real minutes on a team like this. And I think somebody has to step up in terms of that group. Maybe it is Andre Jackson Jr. who tries to get more hustle buckets at the rim, or maybe it is Marjon who starts to get shots to fall. But I would really like some of the young Bucks to become a scoring threat because outside of Giannis, Dame, and obviously Jay and everybody else and Chris, you don't really have that.
So wait a minute. I'm going to ask y'all this, right? You telling me that Andre Jackson Jr. can't do what Anthony Leon Tucker was doing for us a couple years ago? Y'all know him as PJ, but his mama named him Anthony Leon. So
I didn't know that. But again, PJ Tucker, no. Andre Jackson Jr. is as good a defender as Andre Jackson Jr. We think he can be, and he plays. No, you can't. I think you can play him on some guys, and again, I think he had he's kind of handsy too defensively. I just think he's much better than Malik Beasley. I don't think, but PJ Tucker's a high level defender, and that's something that Andre Jackson Jr. can aspire to. Not only that, but PJ Tucker, if you remember, PJ Tucker could again, and I think he's on the true decline now. But PJ Tucker when he in 2021 when he's winning championships with the Bucks, PJ Tucker could defend 1 through 5. PJ Tucker I'm not talking. What is he? 6'8", 6'6"? No, he's like 6'6", 6'7". PJ Tucker could get down there in the post and really defend guys. I don't think he's 6'8". I think I'm overshooting him. I think he's like 6'5", 6'6". But he could be down there, right, and defend guys. And he's strong, got weight to him. Andre Jackson Jr. can't do that. And so it's a difference when you got a guy out there on the floor who, again, maybe he can hit the three, can't hit the three, and he's standing in the corner just waiting to shoot. but you can defend every position on the floor. Andre Jackson Jr. is not that. Just put some respect on my guy PJ Tucker's name.
Look, he's nowhere near. Okay, so he's nowhere near PJ Tucker and can't defend every spot on the floor. But having said that, though, I certainly think if he grows, continues to get experience, he 100% can wreak havoc on that perimeter defensively. And look, if he can contribute a few points when he's in, okay, great, right? Like, I mean, look, PJ Tucker was Big 12 Offensive Player of the Year at Texas. Did y'all know that?
And everybody has
coming out.
No, and everybody has roles.
Yeah, like he was. Wasn't he there right before? It was like 06 or something. Yeah, he's Offensive Player of the Year at UT Austin, right? So like the skill,
skill level's crazy because you know who else, you know that Patrick Beverly averaged like 35 a night in high school. Like the skill level, those guys can play offensive ball, and then in the league, he ain't getting up. He can't even get a chance to do that.
No, and I think right, and I think just schematically, nobody's asking him to do that either, right?
Right.
Like, I don't know if you
all about roles.
Take 10 shots for you. But having said that, though, I still will stand on this, and I'll say, look, I think Andre Jackson Jr. has earned his right to get more minutes, and I think as a team, it benefits you to give him more minutes because if you do need him, you don't want a guy who's only played a handful of minutes all season.
Yeah, I totally agree with that, 100%. And again, the other thing, everybody keeps talking about the defense. 97 points ain't gonna cut it. That's what I'm saying. 97 points is not going to cut it. I think that is. I think I can't remember what the Bucks. The Bucks are a top 10 offense in the league, and so if you put them 97 points, you're not gonna get it done. I don't care if you hold somebody you're not holding people to under 100 points. You definitely ain't that good. So all this talk about the defense. You really needed more offense tonight. That's what you needed. You needed more offense because the defense came around. You had to get it. Again, it was a 112-97 victory or loss for the Milwaukee Bucks. The Orlando Magic defeat the Milwaukee Bucks tonight. Tough matchup. Paolo Banchero is our player of the game with 26, 12, and 5. Had a really nice night. I thought Suggs had a nice night too. In 38 minutes, 22 and 2, and he played well. Again, another guy who I think Suggs at 18 in the first half. Second half, they held the Bucks held him to 2. So again, the defensive effort was much better in the second half. Let's jump around to look around the league. Let's see what's going on. The Miami Heat are up 10 right now on the Atlanta Hawks, 98-88 in the fourth quarter, 8 minutes to go. The Cavs are up 40-38 on the Warriors in the second. The Boston Celtics continue their rampage on the league. I think, you know what, and here's the thing, JT and Chris. Mm-hmm. The thing I think people are why they're so upset is because they see Boston with a 117-94 victory over the Raptors, and Boston 72 and blowing everybody out and doing that kind of thing. That is what I think that they are so afraid of. But again, like I always teach, I think styles make fights. We'll see what the Celtics are like against the Bucks. But again, I think the Bucks are geared and primed, when healthy, to play those teams. Because again, you want to get down to the end. That's it. You want to get down to the end. You want to get down to, a couple possession game late. That's what I think the Bucks are really built for. But yeah, that's your other final tonight, 117-94. Then those other games are on. Bucks again are in action again Monday night against the Chicago Bulls, who probably, you talk about a team that's really struggling. The Bulls are 3-6, and they may be a prime candidate. A lot of people talk about to try and fix that defense. Alex Caruso. And so so that's a team. The Bulls could definitely be a blow it up team and could be sellers at the deadline. So we'll see what they do. Looking around college sports, Wisconsin Badgers. Again, we were on RTCQ this morning talking about Northwestern. They beat down the Wisconsin Badgers 24-10. What's going on with those Badgers, man?
It's getting hard out here. Lost to Indiana last week, lost to Northwestern this week. This is some of the worst Wisconsin Badger football that I think anyone's seen in the last decade or maybe even a couple decades. This team stinks and is going nowhere fast. Having said that, you got to trust the process, right? Luke Fickell's got, I think, a 6 or 7 year deal. Getting a lot of guys, a lot of interest, generating a lot of interest, a lot of key recruits coming to visit, and hopefully he can get some to commit. But right now, it is a painful time to be a Wisconsin fan. And quite honestly, you may ask, why did you run off Paul Chryst again for this? Just saying.
Yeah, I don't know. I disagree. I think a lot of coaches struggle in their first year, even though, everybody was talking about, now the margin of error is littler because Deion's lost his last 5 games. So, I think it's I think it's always tough for a guy to come in, especially football, man. There's so many roster spots, so many new faces you're going to have to go in and recruit. So I think Luke Fickell will be fine. I think he's so experienced up in the Midwest, and I think guys are going to want to play for him.
Yeah, so
I feel you, Chris, and I'm not going to knock you for that, but I will say I understand that you got to get talent in, but you can't lose to Northwestern and Indiana. Wisconsin. I mean, listen, right? Like that is right. That is as bad as it gets.
Maybe Mordecai wasn't the guy that they expected him to be. I mean, he came from the American, where the talent level is admittedly worse than the Big Ten, obviously. So maybe he's just not the guy, and maybe there needs to be a change there sooner than later.
Oh, no, there's no question he's not the guy. The question now is who do you go get to remedy the situation? Yeah. And the last part that I'm going to make on this, too, is I told Trey Crosby this morning, Deion Sanders ain't going to win another game this year. And for them Arizona Wildcats gave him that work today. Yes, maybe they absolutely got – I mean, sort of, right? But maybe they got outplayed in the second half by Colorado. But I got to tell you, some magic about that boy Noah Fafita. Y'all better put some respect on his name. 5'8", slinging it like Kyler.
Cut it out. I thought Colorado should have won that football game, to be honest with you.
Yeah,
Deion made some mistakes. Deion made some mistakes during that game. I thought he should have gone for it on 4th and 1. Gave themselves 2 chances to keep the offense on the field. And again, it was very predictable that Arizona at some point was going to get back down the field and score. And Arizona ran all over him. I think Buddy, I don't know how many rushing yards Buddy had, but that was crazy too. So I mean, I'm still on the Colorado train. I feel good. We're good, and 4 wins compared to 1 win. What Deion say? We coming.
No, y'all ain't coming.
Oh, we coming. Oh, yeah. 4 wins this year.
You not hard to find, but y'all ain't coming.
8 wins next year. Book it. Book it, Colorado is 8 wins next year. 100%. So that's what my Colorado boys going to do.
And at 8 wins, you'll be slightly above mediocrity. Oh,
that's fine. That's fine.
But that ain't.
That's fine.
I guess.
Yeah. No, and then after that, it's college football playoffs, baby. Year three, they're in the playoffs.
Okay,
year 3 in the playoffs.
They might get Washington State next week. I will admit they haven't looked good lately, so they might pull a dub out and maybe be 500 on the year.
Yeah, so we'll see what they can do. Nothing surprises me about my guy. Deion. I did want to ask you one question before we go too. Did you see Buddy crying for Michigan? Was that a little much? Was that a little much after the
get a hold of yourself, man.
Boy, on this Caleb Williams.
He was crying, and it was like it was overly dramatic. It was too much. And here's the weird part, right? Like I was looking at this.
Free Jim.
My wife said the same thing. My wife was like, he's emotional, but wasn't he the coach of Michigan for 3 games while Harbaugh was out earlier this year? Like, so it's not like it's his first time going through this and it just overcome, like everything hit him. It's just like, man, like, listen, you was manning the ship 3 games earlier this year already. Like, why are you acting like, I don't know.
He might have thought this was unfair.
Too much.
No justice.
You know what? I will say this. I kind of understand the emotion just a little bit because you go into Penn State and you get a win. That's a good win regardless. That can low-key change his trajectory as a coach. Some lower-level school might go hire him as a head coach. So I think that's part of the reason he got emotional. But, I also think it was a little much.
Yeah.
I mean, and then the swearing and the cursing.
SEC is coming down on you.
You know what my favorite part is, right? Like the man does the he thanks God, obviously.
Yeah.
For and then drops the F-bombs or whatever. And it's just like, bro, what? Like, come on, man. Like there's got to be some spacing in between that, right? Like you can't invoke, you can't invoke the Lord, and then you gonna sit up here and throw an F-bomb in the next sentence. Just like get a hold of yourself, man. Like, come on.
Yeah, no, that was good stuff. That was good stuff. The boys of Michigan. Tomorrow, to my Panther faithful, if you're going out there doing it, just everybody knows. I don't know if you saw this. The Panthers fans, Carolina Panthers fans, are actually hosting a march on Mint Street. Mint Street is the street where the Panthers Stadium is located. So they're marching after the loss to the Bears. Man, it's a sad fan base, sad state of affairs out in Carolina. I have not decided whether I'm going to go to the march. I don't know. I may go. I may not go. I don't know. The kid's still up. I might have to have him make a poster for me, and I might go down there Sunday before the game. Panthers aren't playing. They played Thursday. Got beat down. I don't know. But we'll see how that goes. I'm very interested to see the numbers on the march on Mint Street. The fan base is very upset. Hilarious. I don't have anything else. So again, it was a 112-97 loss for the Bucks. Bucks back in action again Monday night against the Chicago Bulls. Are they at home or away on that? I mean, I don't even know. Anybody help me out? The Bucks at home or away?
I have absolutely no idea.
Nobody knows. See, no.
Nah.
Said they didn't get that far in the schedule. The Bucks are, I think they're at home. They're going to be at. Okay, so Chicago's coming to Milwaukee. 7 p.m. Central. We'll be here for the post game. Should be some fun. Bucks Bulls. See if the Bucks can get back in the win column. And really, I'm hoping that I see Damian Lillard get back into. That I see Damian Lillard get back into the lineup as well. I want to see the guys at full strength and getting a win would be huge to start off the year 6-4 through the first 10 games. Anything else on the Bucks? Then we get some final thoughts and get out of here.
Man, happy Veterans Day to everybody. We talked about this earlier on T's and Q's. Right? We thank our veterans. Your continuous sacrifice. We appreciate you guys. And again, we would not have a country if it was not for our wonderful veterans. So happy Veterans Day to everybody. Hope everybody has a great weekend.
Yep, I think just got to stay the course with the Bucks. I think they'll be fine. Get Dame back here soon, hopefully, and just try to string some wins together.
Yeah, everybody calm down. Bucks are okay. Let's get through the next 10 games, and then we'll talk once we hit 20, okay? And we'll talk at that point. Till then, don't take no wood nickels.